Tonight, a 14-year-old murders his beloved teacher, killed her with a box cutter, stuffed into a recycling bin and dumped in the woods. And then her accused killer goes to a movie. What does the Behavior Bureau make of all this? Plus, a patient vanishes from her hospital room. Her body is found weeks later in a stairwell. Did a worker find her lying unconscious and just step over her? We have the latest on this hospital mystery. Let's get started. Good evening. My co-host Samantha Shocker, host of Pop Trigger on the Young Turks Network, and we are talking about a beloved teacher who is murdered, her 14-year-old student charged with this crime. Coming up, I plan to speak to a family member of the suspect. But first, more graphic details about how Colleen Ritzer was killed. Have a look at this.
She tried to go to a faculty restroom. Philip Chisholm followed her into that restroom and then hit her and then used a box cutter.
Chisholm brought these box cutters with him to school.
Then took her body and put it into a recycling bin and took her body and dumped it into the woods. When they did find the body, it was not in the recycling bin.
A source close to the investigation says Chisholm went to the movies after allegedly killing Ritzer.
He did go to Wendy's.
Investigators in Danvers, Massachusetts alleged Chisholm incriminated himself in interviews with police, that there was evidence on video cameras.
Well, I want to see what else there is, I want the whole story to kind of come out before people really, cast a lot of judgment on the kid.
My life is so much better because she was my friend.
Joining us, Mark Eiglarsh, attorney at SpeakToMark.com, Anna Yum, defense attorney, former prosecutor, Shagun Oduolowu, social commentator, and HLN's Lynn Barry. Lynn, what else do we know?
Wow, I don't even know where to begin. All of the details are chilling. We've learned from police sources that he actually changed his clothes after the alleged murder there in the school. And then you heard in that piece, hopped around town as if he was out for the night. He was reported missing around 6:30. He was picked up on the street as he was wandering around after midnight. But it's that testimony, it's that interview with police and the surveillance that led them to believe that he's the one that did it. It led them to the body that, by the way, wasn't even covered up. Wasn't buried. It wasn't like he was trying to conceal this crime. This was cold, this was calculating, and the scary thing is that friends are saying they did not see this coming in the least.
Dr. Drew.
Sam, go ahead.
Really quickly, what concerns me is that he was able, after brutally murdering his teacher, to go enjoy a meal in a movie, as if he's completely void of emotion. What does that say about him?
Well, and that's what tonight, it's interesting you said that, Sam, because when we listened to the story last night. I asked the question last night. Now we have more information. I'm asking again what happened here. What stood out tonight to me is, again, the I don't want to say casualness, the detached quality with which he conducted himself afterwards. Anna, do you have a comment about that?
Yeah, I did, Dr. Drew. I mean, clearly, isn't that what you call a sociopath? And maybe you can enlighten us on this, because that's what I'm bothered with.
Well, yes. And Sam pointed this out last night. There was a, what was it, AMC or A&E? What was the program?
AMC has a series that looks at Norman Bates as a kid. And, it's like Dexter Morgan, too. When you look at these people that are, in my mind, that I consider psychopaths, they're very void of emotion and disconnected from reality.
That's right. Exactly, because he went to Wendy's, right, orders a Frosty and fries, and then he goes to a Woody Allen movie by himself, and then he calls it a night. I mean, how do you go from a sports star, a soccer sports star, to an alleged box cutter killer from 0 to 60? And that's what's really bothersome for me.
Can I please jump in here? And what's bothering me, panel, is that all of you are pointing your fingers at a 14-year-old, and none of us have all of the evidence. Because no 14-year-old, nobody just wakes up one day, snaps, decides, you know what, I'm going to premeditate a murder. I'm going to pack a box cutter, I'm going to kill this teacher, put her in a recycling bin, change my clothes, go to Wendy's, go to a movies, and does that spur of the moment. Before you start condemning this kid, just hold on a second. Before you start condemning this kid, just give me more. We're talking about a 14-year-old, so before you throw the book away, before we say that there's no reason for him to do this, let's find some mitigating factors that might have led to why he did this.
Okay.
I'm not going to, listen, I do not want to slander the victim, but before we canonize her, let's make sure that she's a saint.
Mark.
Because maybe something innocuous to him, maybe a brush shoulder, maybe some extra attention, maybe something so innocent led to something so incomprehensible.
Well, but something
I'm not
so innocent,
condemning
but
the kid.
Shagun, if it does,
and shame
if it
on
did,
you guys for condemning
well, hang on
it.
a second, Shagun. If something innocent led to something horrible, that's on him. But Mark, go ahead.
He's 14 years old. Shame on you guys.
Let me say this. He absolutely makes some valid points, except for that shame on you comment. I don't like that. Very judgmental. But I agree with him that he is 14. He is 14, and his mind is very different. However, here are the facts that are uncontroverted, assuming what they're saying is true.
Assuming?
He slaughtered. I didn't interrupt you. He slaughtered in a cold, calculated, heinous, atrocious, and cruel way a teacher. And at no time in the near future would I feel comfortable with him around any of my loved ones or anyone in the public, which means that he has to be warehoused for a lengthy period of time. And that's coming from a defense lawyer who appreciates, they call that prison.
Whoa, for a 14-year-old. Because hold on a second, Dr. Drew, please, just let me just say this one thing. He went to go see a Woody Allen movie, right?
Yeah.
The same Woody Allen that supposedly raped one of his children and then married her later.
What the hell does
and
that
hold on
have
a
to
second,
do with
and none of
anything?
you, and no one finds anything wrong with that. Really?
Maybe he had a crush.
He's 14 years old.
Maybe he had a crush on the teacher.
That is so
okay?
irrelevant.
It's so irrelevant.
It's silly.
It's so irrelevant. Why is
It's
it irrelevant?
irrelevant what you just said.
One at a time.
I'm not saying that I'm not saying that the teacher had any kind of sexual advances towards him. Okay, I'm not maligning the teacher. But what if it was the other way around? What if he, in his mind, had a crush on this teacher? Because if you think about it, he's 14 years old. That's when teenagers' hormones are raging, right? Either he felt humiliated, or maybe he felt rejected, or maybe, just maybe, he felt that she had reciprocal feelings because a student overheard her asking him to stay after class so she could help him with math. Maybe he took that the wrong way, and then something caused him to snap.
Right, and also, by the way, hang on, also he was found to be doodling or drawing pictures all day that day, right, Lynn? And that was an unusual behavior for him. He normally was very, not talkative, but very present in class.
I'm like about to jump out of my chair right
Lynn,
now.
I'll let you how you say it, but I'll also straighten out this business about why we believe it's him, because there's video of him dragging the body.
Right.
No. I didn't say he didn't do it. What I am saying is before we condemn him and say that he's a cold-blooded super murderer, psychopath, psychotic, can we please, before we rush to judgment, find some mitigating factors? Let us have all the facts before we condemn him.
Listen.
Lynn next. Lynn, go ahead. Lynn's jumping out of her skin.
Drew, Dr. Drew, what you were starting to get to is that day in class there were some students that have talked to CNN that said that they saw him doodling all day, that he wasn't paying attention, that he hadn't done his homework that day, and that he did stay after class.
Which was unusual.
With Colleen. Which is unusual. They were just sitting there. She was apparently helping him, but he had never expressed any kind of emotion towards her or even talked about her. This was a kid that just played soccer. This is Anywhere America. This is Anywhere Kid. This is not something that there were any kind of signs. And you guys were talking about some signs of psychopaths and things like that in the past, like Norman Bates, all those things. Those factors usually include hurting animals.
Usually,
and all of these.
Usually, but Lynn,
friends have said anything that are even in the realm of that. So that's what makes this so disturbing.
We don't know. That's right. It seems so out of the blue, but
We don't know the history.
But here, part of the issue is, though, that this child was moved around a ton, and no one really knows his history, right, Sam?
He's relatively new to that area. Yep.
Drew,
we don't know.
I have
but
a
what
question.
we do know is he brutally murdered his teacher.
Mark.
Correct. I have a question for your most vocal defender on the panel tonight. Let me ask you this. So what should happen to him? In 5 years, are you willing then to have him like as a guest in your home? 10 years?
Right.
15 years? Just a year?
Okay,
what should happen to him? I feel for him. He is a child. I do feel for him, but he's a dangerous child.
May I answer your question?
There's two kinds of kids.
May I answer your question?
Let me just finish. There are those who murder and those who don't. And this kid did it in a heinous, atrocious, and cruel way.
Okay.
So what should happen to him?
May I answer? Okay, so I'll answer a ridiculous.
I will
answer a ridiculous question with a little bit of sanity.
Why
you said
is it
there
a
are those,
ridiculous question?
Hold on, because you said there are those
that's
that murder
crazy.
and those that don't. So
like bringing up the Woody Allen.
One at a time, everybody. I have to hold everybody's mics. One at a time. Shagun, go ahead. Finish up.
Okay, so first of all, there are those that murder and those that don't. So soldiers killing in war, I mean, let's not stretch murder way too thin and say that there are killers and there are not killers. And you said it 5 years from now, 10 years from now, If he's guilty and there's no reason for what he did, there are no other factors, then yes, I will agree with you. But the rush to judgment without all of you as lawyers having the facts and not knowing why.
How do you relate him to school?
Without knowing why. I'm not condemning anybody. I'm not condemning anybody without knowing why.
Anna.
We are not rushing to judgment, Shagun. You're saying that we're rushing to judgment. We are talking about the facts that as they have been revealed. We don't know all the facts yet. And rushing to judgment would be that he's automatically guilty. What I'm saying is that the facts that as we know them exemplify egregious conduct here. And you can't argue with that. You can't contest that.
If it comes out,
I'm not saying he's automatically, hey, let me finish.
If it comes out that if she molested him.
Guilty, Shagun. I'm not saying he's automatically guilty. But I do think that we obviously have to look at all the circumstances.
Say that, Shagun. Now, by the way, Shagun, I'm going to warn you. I'm going to warn you, Shagun, that when you say this, you're going to get attacked on Twitter and social media because this girl was loved.
And I'm fine with that. If it comes out that this woman that they think is a saint was really one of the most egregious sinners, and she molested this kid, and she treated him badly, would we still, hold on, I said if it comes out, will you still be rushing to punish him like you are?
Shagun, hold on, everybody, hold on. I know the answer would be that is a polemic, where there's no evidence. CNN can't report on any of that because there's no evidence, but your point is taken, I think. We will attempt to gather more data as time goes along.
Thank you.
Thank you, panel.
Oh, my God.
Next up, the alleged killer.